thank you everyone for being here. It's fantastic that you make it this morning here to FIRA and to be with us at this Digital Health and Wellness Summit. And let me start the first session of today, which is called Women's Health, Closing the Gender Gap. Out of our 4 priorities, probably for the obvious reason, this topic is the closest to my heart. And I'm very happy to be joined today by our 3 fantastic speakers that I would like to join me on the stage right now. We have Marissa Fayer coming from HERhealthEQ and DeepLook Medical. We have Gabriela Irrazabal from RMIT Europe. And we have Vincenzo Carbone from InSilicoTrials Technologies. Thank you, everyone. And we also have 3 speakers who unfortunately were not able to come today, and unfortunately we were not able to bring them in real time. So we will have also the video contributions from Janna from Health Foundation, from Esther Ruiter from the Africa Health Business, and Mevish Vaishnav from Health Parliament in India. So I would like to start actually with a short video from Janna, who will bring us a bit to the topic of the session. So if I may ask our IV team to bring the video of Janna.
Hello from the United States and welcome. I'm Janna Guinen, Executive Director of Health Foundation, a nonprofit organization focused on health equity. I'm joining you today with a few thoughts to help kick off the next panel on gender and health. In particular, I want to talk about the mindset and the dialogue around the topic of gender. So I'm going to share 3 areas where changing minds could have a dramatic impact on the health of women and LGBTQ people, ideas that you can easily share and adopt across your organizations. First, dispelling minority thinking. Women's health has been referred to as a niche market, but in fact, it's a giant market hiding in plain sight. Women and LGBTQ+ people together make up 58% of the world's people. So there is every reason to invest in clinical, product development, and post-marketing research of digital solutions, and to investigate differences by sex and gender. These are huge potential markets that play to the strengths of digital health to reach large numbers of people. Secondly, advocating for the acceptance of gender as neither political nor moral. Depoliticizing gender is necessary to creating a pathway for better physical and mental health and increases in economic power for both women and LGBTQ people. And the digital health sector can provide effective care now, with inclusive data collection and proper steps to ensure patient trust, consent, and security. Digital health tools are a means to access healthcare for those with safety concerns, rising from discrimination or other situations that put people in harm's way. Thirdly, actively denying pejorative rhetoric. It is proven and obvious that an economic and social power are closely linked to better health. But in many places across the world, a politically driven agenda has taken hold that denies the role of privilege in good health and in opportunities linked to health, such as education. This kind of messaging upholds the idea that certain populations are more deserving than others, and it undermines a pivotal strength and aim of digital health to make healthcare more accessible and personal. The tech and healthcare industries can assert their influence to deny this harmful agenda and lead the way on tequity. Finally, hiring for diversity, investing in retention, and developing inclusive cultures are so important to closing the gender health gap and creating broad opportunity for marginalized people. The health tech sector is well positioned to lead the way through application of equitable AI and analytics. Studies show companies that take steps toward diversity, equity, and inclusive culture are more innovative and outperform their peers. So I ask you today to talk about the mindset around gender and take steps to change minds at the organizational level, within your teams, and across society to pave the way for gender equity. And as you head into your next panel, thank you very much to the ECHAlliance for having me today, and I wish you all a great meeting. Take care.
Thank you so much for Okay. Thank you so much for bringing this video to us, and we're very grateful for this welcome speech and from Janna, and bringing us a bit to this panel. And before we go to the discussions, of course, I would like you to get to know our speakers on the stage today. My name is Karolina Mackiewicz. I'm the Innovation Director at the ECHAlliance. It's my pleasure to be a moderator and guide this discussion with my three excellent speakers, Marissa, Gabriela, and Vincenzo. And I will give them now a chance to shortly introduce themselves and tell us what brings them to this topic, what makes them passionate about the topic of women's health, and maybe a bit shortly also, I mean, there is a lot for 1 minute of introduction, but maybe very shortly, what do you actually understand about women's health? So, Marissa, let's start with you.
Hi, everybody. Just making sure this is on. Marissa Fayer, I'm the CEO. I have a few roles of HERhealthEQ, which is a global nonprofit focused on women's health in developing countries. Also the CEO of DeepLook Medical, which is a software technology company focused on radiology and oncology in women's health for dense breasts. So I've been in women's health for, 20 years before it's been popular. I developed the 3D mammography system. I worked at the largest women's health company in the world, Hologic, and did a lot of their mergers and acquisitions. And I've been in the MedTech industry for 24 years, so you can do the math and figure out how old I am. And but women's health, I mean, it's personal. It's me. It's my sister-in-law. It's my family. It's my friends. And so it's important because we have been a marginalized community. We're 51% of the population, so actually we are the majority. So men, actually you're the minority, even though you've gotten, 98% of all the healthcare funding. So it's important for us to innovate in women's health. It's important for us to have different ideas and diverse thoughts. And so I'm excited to be here and speak about women's health. It's all I do and all I speak about, so I'm thrilled to be here.
Perfect. Thank you so much. What about you, Gabriela?
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm Gabriela Irrazabal. I'm also a Global South scholar, so I think that I'm here because of that, because I was trained as a scientific researcher in Argentina and conducted research all over Latin America and also, yes, many countries in Europe. I also work now for RMIT University in Australia, and I'm conducting research also in Australia and Europe. At the moment, I've been speaking with women under women's health, sexual and reproductive rights, reproductive health, mental health and well-being, also death and dying of women at the end of life and technology. I've been speaking with women, interviewing them for also 20 years. But anyway, I use mixed methods in my approach, and I speak with women all around these countries on how they manage their health and well-being. Particularly how they use technology and how they apply technology for their health and well-being in general, and social well-being also, because I'm a social scientist. At the moment, I'm working on a project which is really nice. It is for empowerment people in the use of digital health technologies, devices, and so on. So we are working, developing a digital health strategy for Europe, in literacy particularly, and that's what I think I'm here today to.
Perfect, great to have you here. And of course, women's health is not only for women to work on and think and take care of. So we have Vincenzo with us. So what brings you here?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Vincenzo Carbone. I work in the Research, Development and Innovation Group at InSilicoTrials Technologies. We have created a cloud-based platform that we aim to use and provide to our partners to democratize the use of simulations in healthcare. That is leveraging computational modeling and artificial intelligence to be used to create better and safer products, being medical device or drugs for patients. And with the final aim also is to reach personalized medicine, personalized treatment that can obviously reduce, first of all, the women's health gap, but also to reduce all the gap on subpopulation or underrepresented populations in the healthcare. And today I would like also to give you a glimpse of how technology can allow to create better product and to have a better treatment and provide a better health scenarios for women but for all subpopulation in general.
Thank you so much. And yesterday, Marissa, I saw your LinkedIn post when you said, like, I'm in Barcelona, I'm very happy to be here. Women's health is finally, I think with bold letters, on the agenda. Not only on this event, but on the agenda, I understand, of the global discussion about health. Why do you feel it's finally, and it had to be bolded? Did we really miss this? Like, was this conversation not happening before? And what do you think is why it's happening right now?
I think we finally have hit critical mass where there's so many of us that are just screaming from the rooftops. I think I live in the United States, I'm sure you can tell by my accent, so it is not going well there. I think there's a lot of people screaming about it. I think there's finally a lot more people investing in this space and understanding exactly what Janna was saying. This is not a niche market. We're all here, we're talking about it. And honestly, it's for people like all of us that are insisting that women's health is on the agenda. And so we're at this critical point where, listen, like, there is so much innovation that has the opportunity to scale to very large companies, to great innovations, because it hasn't been invested in, it hasn't been researched, it hasn't been looked at for so long. We're also in this space, we're at like a digital conference, like, everything is digital, and as women, we are speaking about needing technologies for ourselves. There's also, there's been in the last 5 years, a really big push to innovate and for entrepreneurs to come and create solutions. And so I never want it to just be women who are innovating women's health solutions, but it's also men who are seeing their wives, their sisters, their friends that are having a problem and they want to fix that. It's women that we're coming up with our own solutions. And again, there's finally like a very small amount, and we could talk about this ad nauseum, but there's finally more money coming into the women's health space. And so I think it's just like we're at this perfect storm. Listen, like, we would have this on the agenda 5 times as opposed to 1 time. Or the first time. And so I hope everybody else in all the other pavilions are also next year speaking about it, and other companies are speaking about it. There's an opportunity for investment, for technology, for innovation. It's been this like black hole that nobody's focused on.
And we will also unpack this, what are the opportunities and why actually we are talking about the women's health in terms of digital, and how to make sure that it also reaches actually the woman, that we don't only innovate, but we also implement. And I think that the many books being published recently about uncovering the data bias and also the bias when it comes to the clinical trials. And from recent reports, I think McKinsey report about the market of femtech, right, products. So this is like all we will try to pack today in this session. But before we go there, I would like to now turn to our audience, which I think it's like 50-50, so great representation for this session, not only women care about the woman health. And if I may ask our great IV team to put our first Mentimeter question for this session, I would like to hear from you, and I hope we will get the Mentimeter, and if not, we will find the other way. Can we get the Mentimeter on? Or do I have to do something? All right, so it's actually me. So I wanted to ask you, what aspect of improving women's health resonates most with you? And you can get into the Mentimeter either by getting to menti.com and putting the code 49095455, or scanning the QR code. And we actually, this is not an open question. This is a question with a couple of questions. Equal access to healthcare services, collaboration and innovation in healthcare, leveraging digital technologies, addressing gender health gap and data bias, changing mindsets surrounding gender. I think this is what Janna was also talking. Tech industry innovation, public-private partnership or other, okay? We have now 12 answers, and we have 100 people in the room, so I hope you can get into the Mentimeter and let us know what aspect of improving women's health resonates most with you. what aspect of improving women's health resonates most with you from those 7 or 8? Okay, we got some thumbs up for this question. Thank you. All right, so changing mindset surrounding gender actually became the first one. Addressing gender health gap and data bias, all right. Equal access to healthcare services. Collaboration and innovation in healthcare. Tech industry innovation, 5th, but at this conference, interesting. Leveraging digital technology. So this actually shows an interesting thing. I'm a fan of systems thinking. I'm sure many of you are. And in systems thinking, there is a notion that actually to change the system, we should not only work on the numbers, we should not work on KPIs, we should not make sure that we hit some goals, but actually to change the system, we need to change the paradigm. And I think that this is actually what we are getting here, that the aspect of changing the thinking around the gender and addressing the gender health gap and data bias is maybe more important first, and only then the technologies, then the innovations come when the ground is set. Thank you so much for active participation. You still can do that, but we move to the discussion, and maybe I would like our speakers to reflect shortly on this. What do you take from those results? I don't know.
From my perspective, first point that needs to be tackled is the data bias. That is to improve how the data are collected, and also why data are collected. So which are the questions that experiments need to address. And so these obviously need women input, so the ongoing increasing presence of women in research and development brings the actual needs of women to the table to create the question and so to start data collection, data aggregation. And in particular, it's evident that there is an increasing need of data analysis specific for women or for others, underrepresented subpopulation in clinical trials or in clinical experiments. Now, usually, clinical trials involving real patients provides an average results without distinguish the benefits or risk for the different population. It is something that can be tackled by policymakers and regulators in improving and addressing these gaps into the guidelines. And again, coming from the technology field, it's an important moment in the field of InSilicoTrials, that is to use virtual human twins to reduce, refine, and replace the use of real patients in clinical trials. Because last week was published an open document called Toward Good Simulation Practice. That means how modeling and simulation and AI should be used to set up InSilicoTrials. And since this is an open document and toward the creation of a new standard, this is an input that can be brought, and I will bring to the table of this to take into account the disaggregation, take into account the variability of the data, of the risk and benefits between different populations, in particular for women, so that better results are provided about the safety and performance of new medical products.
Thank you. What about you, Gabriela?
Yeah, may I say something? One of the first responses was about changing the mindset on gender and also addressing gender gap. And I think that it's great to remember that, of course, women's health is connected to the social environment where women are developing. So there are some persistent situations that we have to address, like even equal pay or more resources to care and, communitarian help in order to, take care of children and so on. Many activities that women do and affect their health and well-being. And of course, one of the most important for me is literacy for health. Depending in every different countries where I've been studying this topic, there are particularly many differences regarding literacy for health in every area of health, particularly digital health, but also nutritional health, reproductive health. So literacy is, I think, one of the most important points that we have to address.
Yeah, I was noticing about the literacy and that understanding what women's health is. And, this is what's been changing, and I hope that we bring it to the forefront and we talk about it. But it's not just bikini medicine, and I'm sure you can do the visual of where the bikini goes. But it's not that. And it's the research into heart disease. It's research into things that affect women differently, how drugs affect women, how treatments affect women differently than men. And also looking at all types of women, not just white women, not just European women, not just American women, like looking at people from all different areas. So I think if we can continue to destigmatize and educate on what women's health actually is, it's just healthcare. Like, I would love in the next few years we actually stop calling it women's health because we don't need to any longer. It's literally just healthcare for women and then healthcare for men. It's just health and healthcare. So I think, like, again, the destigmatization of it, I also thought it's interesting. We're at a digital health conference, and that was like number 4. And it might not be number 4 anymore on the list, but it was number 4, and we're at a digital, a digital conference. So I thought that was interesting. More of the understanding of what women's health is and destigmatization is more important than the actual technology, because it's exactly what you were saying, Karolina. It's getting, you need the innovation, but you also have to get it to people.
All right, and this actually leads me very well to my question on how can we really ensure that those innovations reach women? So 58% of population are women, right? We cannot imagine the society without women, and still we know, this is a topic, right? This is an issue to handle, that actually unequal pay, unequal access to healthcare. Women are generally considered a vulnerable population, and of course within women there are also other different groups of women. And I've read an interesting also a report that, or a statement actually, that the innovations usually, like the dynamics of the innovation implementation usually goes so that it first hits those better off, and only after a couple of circles, it actually then helps the people, the more vulnerable groups. So this means that before reaching those groups, it will still take time. How can we shorten this time? How can we actually ensure that it reaches those that are most, need this? We're smiling, Gabriela, so.
Well, it's a great question. Thank you. I was thinking about what Marissa was saying, that having an approach and more maybe intersectional would be helpful in order to understand how to adopt innovation and how to reach women all over the world and with different cultures and populations. I also, when I talked, I've spoken with 12,000 women all over, in all my research, and I usually study a lot on beliefs, general beliefs about technology. What do you think they are? How do you use them? What scares you about technology and so on, and the digital devices, and how do you use it? And in those process, in that process of research and talking to women, actually, you learn a lot on how to get to them. So I think that probably, I'm a little bit old school, but conversation, it's a good way to access women all over the world.
So conversation, information, awareness raising, bringing this. Any other points?
Yeah, I completely agree. Raising awareness and trying to remove a stigma that sometimes surround some women's health conditions, and so leveraging technologies, smartphones, digital technology to share information, to communicate, and to create groups that can provide data. Data means knowledge, so to provide data information about the existence of these conditions that can be then brought to the table of investor or policymaker, because again, it was said before, it's thought it's a niche market, because at the moment, no data indicates that there is a big potential in the market. So this data has to be brought and come out from the population, in particular, again, from women. Women have to bring to the table their specific needs. They are underrepresented, and so to bring to the table for conversation and discussion on that.
Okay, and women have to be brought to the table. How can we do it? Do you have some suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, so I think
information.
I think we need information.
Yeah,
I think we need, I think we need data. But women need to be involved in the design process of the technology. I'm an engineer. I was one of few at most of the companies I worked with, and we have a different perspective. And if we're serving women's health, it's probably our perspective that you're going to want as part of your design teams. There's very few orthopedic surgeons that are women. The reason why is because the equipment is physically too big for women's hands to grip. It's not that they're not skilled in it. They cannot hold the equipment. It cannot grip it. Who thought about that? Who, when talking about testing, nobody decided or thought to test this on a woman's hand? I mean, I think it's, like having women in the design, on your engineering teams, on your technology teams, designing their trials, designing your research, having women as part of it, it's not hard. There's plenty of women available. Quite honestly, at a lot of the universities, there's 50% women in the engineering schools. Just bring them as part of the process. You need to ensure that there is, for any of the lifestyles that women have, you need to ensure that there is support for that so that they can continue to be part of those teams when you're designing new products and thinking about them together and listen to them. It's not just like have them token as part of your team. It's actually listening.
This actually means that we should talk more to men than
Absolutely.
to women,
Absolutely.
right?
Listen, men need to be our allies.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, allies. And so, I don't know, Vincenzo, I would like to hear your perspective. What makes you enlightened about this issue, and how did you realize that bringing women is important to the table, is important to actually close this gender gap and actually fight this the bias in data?
Well, again, women can bring their own perspective that men cannot have because it's not part of their experience. Now, the example of the size of tools to be used by surgeons, probably limited women were involved in the design, but also maybe the guidelines or the information about average size were created many years ago and were not inclusive of the various gender and the real variation of the size and capability, physical dimensions of the final user expected to use it. And again, for the related to the participation of women, it was mentioned before that finally there is, in the agenda there is this topic, this session about women's health. But I can say that some years ago I participated to a technical conference about biomechanical engineering, and there was already dedicated sessions about application of biomechanical engineering to women's health. That was, most of the speakers were women, and there was use of, 3D recreation of female anatomy to better understand specific condition, for example, postpartum conditions, so take into account the 3D mechanical interaction of all the internal tissues of the body. That's an example where technology can address the specific gap, and so where women can bring the questions, raise the point to the table, and then use technology to leverage that. And after this question are raised, obviously the collaboration, all collaboration of women, men, people coming from different conditions and different, background can bring all these multicultural, multidisciplinary approach to solve the problem.
Thank you so much for this. And you also, before you said about the policy regulation, speaking with also policymakers and the regulations, so we can go later to this theme. Now I think we are living with a bit call to action for both women to participate in the different co-creation processes and be present at the table, and of course for men to be aware of all those challenges and the fact that if you collect the data, you need to collect good quality data that actually brings you information about what you need, and if you develop the solution for women, that's very important. Maybe before I would like to also hear from Esther from Africa Health Business, but maybe before we go there, I wanted to still touch on you on this report from McKinsey recently published showing, and I think it wasn't only that report, there is so many often reports showing this amazing opportunity of the femtech market, like trillions of dollars there. And on one hand, it's great that there is this opportunity, but does it also tell us something about the state of women's health, that the market is so big and the companies? So now there is a big expectations that the companies and the technology will fill this gap. I don't know, how do you read that? What is it, like excitement, or is it a bit frustration, or how do you read those news about this?
I mean, it is so exciting to actually have reports, and multiple reports come out at exactly, I mean, they all came out in the same 3 weeks, which is wonderful. I participated in one of them. one or two of them, but it's exciting because it's a huge opportunity. It's an opportunity for investors to also see this is a very large market. Investors are leveraged by opportunity and markets that are underserved. Well, it is here in multiple reports and by independents. So it's not just people who are in the industry, it is independent companies like McKinsey, like Roche. There's other ones that put out reports. So I think it's incredibly interesting and exciting. I'm also an investor. I'm also a partner at 2 funds, like all women's health focused. It is an exciting time to be in the women's health space. It is, it's almost a market ripe for innovation. 85% of all decisions related to healthcare, not just women's health, all healthcare are made by women. For the men in their life, their children, themselves. We're 51 to 52% of the population. We are controlling, and it depends on which report you read, somewhere between $3 to $10 trillion in the women's health space. It's an opportunity where there's only, 500 million being spent currently. The growth potential, there's a 5-10x opportunity in the next 10 years. Again, as an investor, I don't see any other industry that has that opportunity. So it's really exciting. I think there's also so many different areas to go into. It sometimes seems overwhelming, and it's not just fertility. Fertility is one very big niche market that people have invested in and spent the time in, and it's important. But when we talk about the rest of the world, we literally do have to talk about the rest of the world and opportunities for that, and that's where digital health is really helpful. But with digital health, you also still need the physical mechanics of a device or a measurement. I think it's a really exciting time. There's data just this week, or end of last week, in the United States. The White House Women's Health Task Force, which I'm blessed to be part of, just announced the first of many grants that are going out to innovate and research in women's health. $100 million. Never, ever has that been done by the United States government, and I don't know any other government that's done that, to research specifically in women's health. That's an opportunity. When you are doing the research, and both of you know this, when you do the research, you then have the data, and then you can innovate and fill those gaps. So I have nothing but excitement. Maybe I need a coffee for a little bit more excitement, but it's exciting.
All right. I think, Vincenzo, you were shaking your head.
I completely agree. But also, I read this report and I saw it as a great opportunity. And again, from my perspective, bringing to the table what technology can bring. So it was mentioned to take into account the disaggregation about the results, the risk and benefits of a new medical product. Could be a medical device or drug to different populations. So it could be men and women, but also there are some underrepresented population like pediatric population that sometimes for ethical reason, also for cost reason, they cannot be fully represented by real patients in clinical trials. It's where technology can provide support, so to bring to you the artificial intelligence or modeling simulation to reduce the time and cost needed to test a new drug or new products on a various virtual population. And that can, it's an opportunity, as it was said, the investor can be interested in that, and also showing to companies they can reduce the cost, because clinical trials, when the real patients are involved, take most of the cost to bring a new product to the market. Indicating that technology can be used to increase the population where these new products are tested, and at the same time reducing cost, it's a great benefit that company can leverage to take into account this gap and reduce the gap when creating new products.
May I add?
Gabriela, what about also academic perspective?
Yes,
so we
am
hear
going to add another
from the companies. What about you?
I was going to add another perspective, because as it is also an opportunity for policymakers to address some conditions or health conditions that are actually not profitable. Sometimes sometimes there is no market, but there is a health condition that needs to be addressed. So it's also a good opportunity for policymakers to, improve and guarantee health as a human right also for women. And in fact, I wanted to add, remembering about data and talking about that women do participate in research a lot, and they talk, and we've been invited to the studies, but sometimes the analysis perspective does not consider them. We don't consider the gender perspective when we analyze data. So that will be actually a good start point these days to revise all our data sets and to start improving or, adding a women's perspective in those. In particular, in my area, which is health literacy, 60% of women the 60% of the sample are women, but then you don't get the results for women. You don't see the data
you
for
have
women.
all the data in the common pod, so
exactly.
you don't. All right. So it's not aggregated.
So sometimes looking, as a start point, we can look at the data we have and start innovating from that.
This is very a detail, but such a really important and changing the whole picture. All right. We will pause a bit here, and then I would like to also bring the perspective of Esther Ruiter from Africa Health Business, who is in Kenya, in Nairobi, and I hope we can get the video on the screen. Esther, yes? Okay, perfect.
My name is Esther Ruiter. I'm a midwife by training. And the last 10 years I worked clinically, both in private and public health facility, clinically as a midwife. Currently I'm working for Africa Health Business, working as the project manager on the Coalition for Women's Health in Africa. Africa Health Business is a Pan-African consultancy firm focused on strengthening healthcare, ensuring evidence-based solutions in today's complex healthcare systems. Africa Health Business is actively involved in the work of the Coalition for Women's Health in Africa as being the managing secretariat for the coalition. The Coalition for Women's Health in Africa is a network of private and non-state actors working together on promoting and providing equitable healthcare for women and girls in Africa. By breaking down silos and working together, we are trying to create sustainable solutions in health. This is done through research, advocacy, and action. My intervention is quite straightforward, and it is not a new intervention, but it is data management, critical intervention to ensure that we close the gender health gap. Data is crucial to feed into interventions, and historically, women have been excluded from clinical trials. This has caused for a huge amount of bias, gender bias, in interventions, but it's also caused a lack of historical data on specific women health issues. And this is where my next point comes in, and that is digital tools and private-public partnerships. Now, digital tools can enhance capturing of data, sharing of data, and analyzing of data. But we need to be careful how that is done. And what I mean with the private-public partnerships is not only who is capturing this data, but how is it shared? And what are the rules and regulations of sharing this data between facilities, between sectors, and not only between private and public, but also between government? So how can we ensure that these guidelines are in place, both for the digital tools and for the private-public partnership collaborations, to have effective healthcare interventions take place. I'm wishing you all a fantastic event, and I hope a good discussion on this intervention. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is great to have also Esther's perspective and coming from Africa Health Business and Coalition for Women Health. I think sharing the same statements with you here on the stage. And I wanted then to bring maybe this topic of public-private partnerships and also in general, like also breaking down silos in this area and breaking some silos between the sectors, between the companies, policy, academia, civil society, patient organization, women's organizations, and so on. As Andy already told us during the introduction, ECHAlliance is the organization created for that, to break the silos, to bring different sectors together. So this is our core mission. So that's why it's also very important for me to raise this during this panel. So public-private partnerships and breaking the silos for better women's health. How do you see that? And do you have like any experiences? So you come from the companies, you come from academia. I don't want to like put you in the boxes, but for the sake of this question and this exercise, let's do that. So what is your experience with, for example, working with public sector on this, and what would you like to see more or less, and how to advance this collaboration, this cross-sectoral collaboration for more sustainable health system? Who wants to start?
I mean, I'm happy to start. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm on the company side, and I was in corporate, and now I'm on the private company, but I also run a global nonprofit and NGO. And so I see how all of them need to work together. So, I mean, I know it's the generic statement of, PPP, we all need to work together, and, that's just how it's going to move things forward faster. But in reality, nonprofits, NGOs, they need the corporations in order to help do their work, but the corporations also need the nonprofits and the NGOs because they can't do their work. The corporations, they want to hit all of their metrics and ESG and DEI and CSR and whatever acronym you possibly want to use. They need to hit those metrics. They have corporate imperatives in order to do that. They need nonprofits to do the work. They have found, the corporations, it's not necessarily efficient for them to be running nonprofit programs. They need the partnerships. The nonprofits need the support of the corporations. So everyone really needs to work together. Also, think about working together. The corporations, they have money. They have a voice. They have the policymakers, ears because of their status in I guess paying taxes and all of the money that they're bringing into the organizations, into the countries. So for them, it's important to enact policy change and to bring others with them. It's not just for their own private goal. And it's to make sure that everybody's coming up. And listen, every corporation has their own vertical, their own area that they're going to focus on. But if they can find like-minded organizations to work with, and academia and research organizations to support it, kind of almost like a coalitions in certain areas, and then working together, like we have to share the data. It can't just be siloed because companies are very siloed and nonprofits are sometimes siloed, and so is academia. So I think it's just having everybody together. So I know it sounds cheesy to say like everyone has to work together, but we actually do, and there needs to be people who are kind of organizing that, not for their own good, but for the good of the area that is of focus. So they all need each other. It's not like the corporations don't need the nonprofits and vice versa. They're needed to work together and to joint together. So I think like that's just a really important perspective to think about. When there's money, you can enact change. And so bringing the corporations together is actually important with all of the institutions.
Then we move to academia.
Yeah, no, but I totally agree. I just wanted to put as an example this project that we're working on improving digital empowerment for active, healthy living. We are working all together, companies, universities, the public sector, and it was actually a great experience for me, coming from academia, to work with companies and the policymakers and try to produce, and different stakeholders, and trying to produce a policy that it is going to be adopted, we hope, in Europe and around. So I think it's great if we have a social problem that we address it from different perspectives. Otherwise, it is going to be there and it's not going to be solved. So I actually have a good experience on that.
Okay. And then
Obviously, I completely agree. I'm in line with you. Again, stressing, I think this will be one of the main take-home messages, the importance of data and quantitative assessment of the data can, transform what we are discussing today about the gender health gap from a perception to a fact, and bringing this information to the table of the decision maker to say this can improve the overall, let's say, healthcare system, healthcare benefits, and also bring fact about how it can improve productivity at the company. So making a workplace which are more embracing, take into account the different needs of men, women, of all the let's say representation in company, can improve the productivity of the employees of a company, and obviously it's benefit for the company itself. So start from data, bring the information, also the money, time information, how addressing this gap, which is affect how the policy can improve and reduce and this gap.
Perfect. And then we are actually coming to a close of this session. We just have 12 minutes here. But I wanted to ask you for also to give us something concrete, to share a concrete example or initiative of the project, initiative, a solution that actually helped effectively close the gender gap or contributed to it. It's a big thing, but yeah, maybe, I don't know, you already mentioned a project. Do you want to tell us a bit more on that?
Yes, what we are doing is co-creating a strategy for the empowerment of different populations here in Europe in access to digital healthcare. So particularly, we work with many different populations all around Europe, but particularly with women and pregnant women, we actually work on how they use technology and how they developed. We work with policymakers and also companies, universities, and the healthcare sector, and the evidence suggests that when people, women also, but people in general, have more literacy for their health, they don't need to go to hospitalization for so long, or they don't need to, they can manage their health conditions in a way that is positive for their general well-being, and it's good for the healthcare sector because they don't spend so much money in chronic hospitalization process. So actually, it's not my area, but actually we discovered that by researching that, we empowered women in the access of healthcare to use more technology in a way that it doesn't affect negatively their health. So not when they are actually using technology for caring other people, to care to other people, but for themselves. And actually they reduce their hospitalization, with chronic conditions. So it's actually, that's what we are seeing, and I think it was a great opportunity.
Yeah. So, again, from my background, what I can bring is a specific example. So in the medical device field, there is a topic called MRI compatibility. That is, if a patient need to receive a surgery because the surgeon has to insert an implant, it could be an hip prosthesis or a cardiovascular stent, then the medical device manufacturer has to assess the MRI compatibility. That is, if that patient having an hip implant needs to undergo an MRI examination 2, 3, 5, 10 years after the surgery, what is the risk that this metal implant within the MRI machinery can create increase of heat, and so a risk of overheating of the tissue surrounding the medical device. And so there are specific standards to assess this problem. But let's say the standard indicates some ideal conditions where to be reproduced to assess this problem. What the FDA did, the American regulatory body, is in a research collaboration, they created the so-called virtual family. So it's a 3D virtual representation, both of the 3D geometry anatomy of the various members of this virtual population, and also take into account the physiology, the mechanical characteristics of all the members. And the virtual population includes a male representative, women representative, pregnant women at different moments during the pregnancy, also pediatric, so children at different ages. These tools and this virtual population is offered for free to medical device manufacturers, so they can use this tool to virtually test their new medical devices without having to do clinical trials on real patients, and so to have to include this different, so people coming from different subpopulation of gender, of age. It cuts the cost to assess the MRI compatibility of the new device, and so it can bring better device for better that fit best fit the different underpopulation, and this can help to lower the barriers of adoption of new technology to bring new, better, and safe devices to the population.
Perfect, thank you.
So there's two things that I've been working on specifically impacting the gender gap. First thing is with HERhealthEQ, which is the global nonprofit, we have been able to deploy 31 pieces of equipment, impact 40,000 women's lives in just the last few years with better health, both on breast cancer, cervical cancer, and maternal health. And what we've been able to do is make sure that they have diagnoses early, treatment early, so it doesn't get to a later stage where it is very costly or unfortunately a woman's going to lose her life. So earlier diagnosis, earlier treatment, we've gone down that pathway. And then with DeepLook, what we're working on is we're FDA cleared and we're deploying now, and we're working to reduce the secondary imaging and reduce the biopsy rate, first with breast cancer, then with lung cancer, and this is for all people, I mean breast cancer women, but lung cancer all people, because when you can see in the imaging better and you can see inside the dense tissue, you don't necessarily need to send somebody for a secondary MRI or an ultrasound or a secondary screen. You can reduce their anxiety to know that there actually isn't something there. The other thing is we are reducing the rate of biopsies. 98% of all biopsies done in breast are on benign lesions, which means they're not cancer. So if we can reduce, the rate of biopsy even by 5 or 10%, that is a multiple billion-dollar market to be reducing. And also, jamming a needle in somebody's body just because there's not actually something there because you just can't see, that's speaking to a woman's life and not being able to, to go back multiple times. And, we live in urban areas, which I think we're lucky to, but when women are not living in urban areas, it's very hard to go back for multiple rounds of testing. And so getting very accurate imaging at the point of actual image is important to reduce all of the other secondary and tertiary imaging. So very specific.
Thank you. And here I would like to also bring the video address of Mevish Vaishnav, who will, I think that her address will serve very well as to sum up a bit this discussion, to bring a bit of close, but please don't stay with us, and tell us also a bit about her work and to share the call to action with us. Can we bring the next video, please? Mevish? Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me here at this important session. I am Mevish Vaishnav, the Group Chief Operating Officer at Digital Health Associates Private Limited. I have been into healthcare for almost 12 years now. I take a pride in stating that I belong to a country that has a women president, a women finance minister, a woman as Women and Child Development Minister, a woman chairperson of Capital Markets Regulators, Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, a woman senior scientist, and a woman president of Indian Olympic Association. Our Honorable Prime Minister has reserved 33% of seats in the assemblies and Lok Sabha for women. Almost all the important and powerful positions in decision-making in India are being led by women, both in private and public sector. Just let me state few facts here. According to the Indian Economy Report, the female gross enrollment ratio in higher education has quadrupled from 6.7% in 2000 and 2001 to 27.9% in 2020 and 2021. According to the National Family Health Survey 2024, the total overall sex ratio is 1,020 females as per 1,000 males. The Grant Thornton's International Business Report on Women in Business 2023, The Push for Parity, has found that India has a total of 36% women in the senior management positions in mid-market business, which is 4% higher than the global count that is of 32%. So women are taking center stage, and not just in my country, but globally. Though we are still a long way to go, as there are dropouts in the transition from junior level to mid-management level. India, despite being producing the world's highest number of female science, technology, engineering, and math graduates every year, only a few continue in this career. I also lead the digital health campaign, which is Women for Digital Health, where we are promoting women to take senior roles in digital health. And I strongly encourage women as they make great leaders. In my company, as a group chief operating officer, 2/3 are women, and we take pride and continue to grow as an organization. I believe women have a major role to play. I myself lead the organization, and I find it quite exciting about the potential to make a difference. So we need to empower the women and mentor them to envision being at the senior leadership roles. And I would urge everyone to join and come together for this global movement by filling the form at www.tinyurl.womenfordigitalhealth. Women are forward looking in India, and government is also supporting. So we have seen women taking leadership roles and driving change. We are progressing, and just not that, we women are literally over the moon. Let us all come together and help each other to grow, be confident, and become independent, and make this place safe, happy, and healthy for every woman. Let's make this world equal for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that this video has put a smile on my face and on many of us, but of course it's a very serious issue. I invite you all, I hope we leave you with some inspiration, some food for thought, some examples, some calls to action. This is one of many sessions where we'll discuss this topic, and we will discuss it as long as it takes to make a difference. Join me in a round of applause for our fantastic speakers here in this session and online. Thank you so much, Marissa, Gabriela, and Vincenzo, for your important work and contribution to this session. So this is where Women's Health session ends. Thank you so much. And I would like to then pass this microphone to my colleague, George Margelis, who came all the way from Australia to lead the discussion on another important topic, on another priority, which is healthy aging. So, George, the floor is literally yours.